So the first episode of Scarlet Nexus anime, which based off the video game of the same name, has now been released. So here is the review of the first episode of Scarlet Nexus, which you guys should really play the game as well. So here it is, in which the episode begins with a dream of someone being attacked by a creature as the people are trying to evacuate the facility, until he actually heard from a woman who saved him, who actually told him that you must live, in which he followed that advice, in which we headed back over towards the present, where the main protagonist, Yuito Sumeraki, and his friend Nagi Kamen, who actually sparring with their powers, which they became the elite members of a military force called the OSF, or the Other Suppression Force. So they actually spar with their powers, which we actually see how Yuito won, but they actually have an alert on the ceremony, which they actually headed over towards the ceremony. So we actually knew they will become the members of the OSF, until the news actually broadcasts the new recruits, as we seen how they actually show Yuito as the topic, which he is the son of the chairman, Joe Sumeragi, and the younger brother of the OSF chief, Kaito, which we knew how Joe is actually against Yuito joining the OSF due to the fact that his altitude on the psionic is low. But he actually made his choice to join the OSF because he wanted to protect the people, until they actually got an alert about the other attacks. In case no one had actually played the game, others are deranged mutants that comes from the sky from a phenomenon known as the extinction belt, until the Scarlet Guardians have been deployed, which we see a major general named Carmen Travers, who actually used his powers to defeat one, and another named Fubuki Spring, who used his powers of chronokisis to freeze one, and which they actually are known of being Scarlet Guardians, in which Yuito and Nagi have actually seen how amazing they are, as they will become one after the ceremony, at which we seen the earring that Yuito wore was actually brought by the woman who saved his life, and which he's going to find out who saved him. As the ceremony begins, we see how they are lucky that they are not late, until Nagi actually spots a cadet, which her name is Naomi Randall, and her sister Kisame Randall, as they actually look at Yuito and Nagi, until Chief Kaito actually appeared, which he actually said he is proud that they made it this far, but they face a danger known as the Others, in which that's how the OSF has been created, which the combination of the Psynet and the hidden powers that allow them to become psionic, which actually hidden within the brain, in which they use them to defeat the Others, and which he actually commends them as the new members of the Scarlet Guardians, which is the Cadet Brigade, in which we see Yuito and Nagi look up on Kasami and Naomi, in which they actually saw that Kasami's parents was killed in a other attack, so she was adopted by the Randall family, and that's how she became Naomi's sister, in which we see how Yuito remembers Kasami from his father's inauguration party. So we seen how Nagi actually told Yuito that he's going to take Naomi, well, he actually takes Kasami because he actually thinks that that's how relationships works. Meanwhile, we see Naomi and Kasami put on their combat outfits, which she actually told her about the red strings dream that she actually been having, which we seen how she was heard from a woman that know that they cannot take her hands off the red strings, in which she tells her that she'll protect her from any danger, which is actually embarrassing for Naomi, as we see how Yuito told Nagi about the woman who saved his life, who was actually on the OSF. He actually asked his brother, but he doesn't know neither. Until they actually was approached by Yuito's childhood friend Hanabi Ichijo, which she actually caught up with Yuito, who introduced her to Nagi, in which she was actually in the Scout Brigade. And that's when they actually are in the same platoon, in which they actually have the leader named Sento Narukami, who actually bring out the introduction, which his powers are electrokinesis, which they actually demonstrate their powers as well, in which Hanabi's powers is pyrokinesis, and Nagi's is air manipulation, and also Yuito's is psychokinesis, which is the same as telekinetic abilities, which he introduced to the other members of the platoon, which is Sugumi Nazar, who has the power of clairvoyance, which to reveal enemies. But she actually have a hard time of demonstrating her powers, which we actually get to introduce of Kaguro Dan, who actually known as the genius, or he actually says so himself, which his power is invisibility, which the ability to turn himself invisible, in which they actually going to use a system called the SAS or the struggle arm system cables that allow them to use other people's abilities. However, they got an alert about the others actually arriving in the city. So, Seto Platoon is now on deployment, in which they actually been introduced by Wataru Fraser, who didn't actually make his introduction as well, and his powers is telepathy. So he actually is the platoon's operator, which he's going to station at the headquarters. So they actually get their chance to fight the others. However, Wataru informed Yuito and Nagi they're actually on rear guard, and because they're actually cadets. So we're going to see Seto, Kaguro, Sugumi, and Hanabi are actually in action, which they put on their hoods, which in the game actually symbolizes what they actually have the digitalized eyes, which they actually look out of. So they actually show off their powers in battle, in which we knew that Kasami and Naomi are actually in this different area, which we see them on Kyoga's platoon, until they were actually was alerted by a other where a young girl was separated from her mother. So Yuito decided to rush in and help her, which Nagi reminded him that they're actually supposed to be on rear guard, until he decided to join as well, which we see how Naomi, with her power of precognition, that she actually informs Kasami about the others are actually on their way, which we see how Yuito was reminded of how a OSF member saved him, in which he put on his hood and decided to save the little girl, in which Nagi actually decided to fight back until he was actually attacked. So Yuito actually used his power to save him, which Naomi actually helped him, which the others are on their way, which the other is actually trying to attack them, but Nagi has defeated it, which we've seen how Yuito actually fight back against the other until Kasami saved him, which we knew that she also has the same power of psychokinesis. That is when we see how Yuito memories have started to come back as they work together to defeat the other. So they actually was interviewed by Crows, which is the media droid, until they were actually was distracted by Arashi Spring, the captain, in which they were actually escorted by Cetedrion 6 class Luca Travers, who is actually the brother of Karin Travers. Using his powers of teleportation, they actually got out of the Crow's range, in which they actually saw the two OSF members was killed in the line of action, where the others have actually ate the brains to calm their madness, which that is their favorite appetite. So they knew the mysteries of the others remains until they actually try to figure out what caused the others to attack. That is when we see how the Seto platoon actually arrived, which they actually knew that Yuito and Nagi have defeated their others on their first day. But Kaguro say that even though that Seto is proud, he normally said that because they would be severely punished. Until we actually saw how Kasami looked exactly like the woman who saved Yuito when he was actually 5 years old. So now we're going to see what's going to happen later on. So I really love how the series based off the video game is amazing, in which I've actually had to say that this is actually how everything has shown that it actually is canon from the game. So we actually see how the characters actually match into the personalities they actually have, plus the powers from within their brains, in which we actually see how all this actually plays out, including the opening and ending theme songs that I'm going to do a live reaction of. It actually show how amazing this series is. So I cannot wait to see what's going to happen on the next episode next weekend. So anyway, like this video, subscribe for more, and comment what we think about the first episode. If you guys haven't get the chance to see my unboxing review, you guys can also check out on the link below, and you guys can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and my Facebook page and Twitch. Until then, this is Anime Guy around here saying sign out. Laters, and be safe.